Hey everyone, welcome to our show. It must be Friday because it's another Q&A with Alan and Marshall. I'm Marshall Atkinson.
I'm Alan Howe with Easy Wake.
And welcome to our little show.
Our little show. My camera keeps looking like it's crooked.
It's an earthquake.
Yeah, the Michigan earthquakes. We have it. Dude, I'm telling you what, we had thunderstorms this past week. And after the storm, about 45 minutes, there's no rain or anything. All of a sudden, there was such a thunder crash. It was like someone let off a bomb, like on my front porch. Enough, I jump out of the chair. I'm on the front porch looking. All the neighbors are around. We're like, what the snap was that?
Yeah, and your mailbox is missing.
No, all of them were there. Down the road, lightning did hit a tree and brought it down. But
was that the boom? Was that?
No, this was after. This was way after. So
right. Well, cool. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. We really appreciate you. We have an amazing show lined up for you today, especially if you're a screen printer. We have a really fun topic that I think everybody's really going to dig into. And we're not going to talk about it right away because we want to say hello to people. So right now, if you're watching, please get on your keyboard, type in your name, where you're watching from, all that kind of stuff. And then when we get into the meat of the show, we want your questions. That's the whole reason this show exists, is to answer your questions. So if you need help, if you're confused, if you're struggling, or if you just want to comment about whatever, it doesn't matter what it is, we need the comments because that's how the show works, right?
Yeah.
So please take part. And then also, if you could do us a small favor, we would like you to do what? Alan, what do we want them to do?
We want you to share this with everybody because that's how we get viewers. And I'll tell you what, everybody's been doing a great job because we can see there's only usually between 20 and 30, sometimes 50 people listening live, but we get hundreds and sometimes thousands throughout the week, and that is on replay and stuff, and that's by you guys sharing it.
Right.
So if you're watching, if you're listening, please share that on your social medias. They can go to YouTube, they can go to Spotify, they can go to LinkedIn, they can go to Apple and have it all.
Yeah, right. So let's say hey to some folks. So Dan's here today. Good to see you, Dan.
From
I
Alabama.
know that the topic today is going to absolutely thrill you.
Yep.
As well as Mr. Mark is going to make him happy. And
we'll have a small
Charles' day too. So
hey Charles, how you doing in New Mexico?
I know you guys are wondering what are they going to talk about?
And we got another viewer who will enjoy this topic also.
Oh my God. Ortolani in the house.
Mr. James Ortolani,
Woo!
Academy member and expert. Industry expert. He's my transfer guy, man. If I have a question on transfers, I'm calling James.
Really? I didn't know he was that big into it.
22 years with Hicks. Yeah.
I guess so.
Met James, he was the transfer dude. So
cool.
But he's now just an ink guru, man. So
yeah. All right.
And one of the nicest guys in the industry you'll ever meet. Just a super guy.
And Padraig's here from Cork, Ireland.
Hey, Padraig, how you doing from Ireland?
That's awesome. All right. Well, hey, what do you say we pay some bills real quick, and then we will get into the show. So,
is this
by the way,
is this going to be a moment of silence? This will be the last viewing, I think.
This is the last time we're going to hear this because GSG is sending me a new promo reel for next week.
Yep.
So enjoy this while it lasts.
You may want to.
Man, I cut you off. I didn't mean to do
I
that.
missed it already. I was going to say, did you know that this is my ringtone for Beth Wolf?
Is it?
No, it's going to be. Beth Wolf is in charge of marketing for GSG nationwide. She's amazing. So yeah, Beth, I'm going to make that as my ringtone for you.
That's funny. Hey, so got some folks watching on YouTube. So Richard's here from Michigan.
Hey, Richard.
And Cindy's here, of course. How you doing, Cindy?
Always. How you doing, Cindy?
She's here twice. Look, these are two different posts.
That's so awesome.
So glad you're here twice.
Yep.
So are you ready for the big reveal? What today's topic is?
I forget.
No, you don't. Here it is.
Hold on. What does Dan say? He just put a humongous thing.
Hold on. Whoa. Got one. I'm working with a 2-layer puff job. I have a sim process colors going on top. Looks great. But I like to get more height in the first layer of puff. The first layer is an 80 and a solid art. The second layer is a detail puff and a 110. Looks great. Cool effect, but needs more height on a solid 80 mins puff. That screen is coded 2 to 4. I've read that puff doesn't really need HD stencil thickness, but that you should get that by additive. How can I get a higher puff? Are you stepping on the puff?
Here's what I would do. I would if your first layer is 80 and solid, that's fine if the detail allows it. On your second layer, I would go almost to a stochastic. Flash it and go stochastic. You don't want to add more blowing agent because you can actually blow the puff out on it, and it could
It'll look like a muffin.
Yeah, I would almost stack it, almost like an HD, and do it.
Yeah,
to get a higher puff. There's only so much puff you can do on there, so I
well,
would do
how
it that
high?
way.
The other thing is, how high do you want it?
Yeah, I don't think he's looking for 3 inches, but I think he's looking for a little more height on it.
Yeah. Well, you could maybe even do an HD as the bottom, and then do puff on top, maybe.
Well, if you stack puff, it'll do that. But if you go like a complete solid, sometimes if the area is too big, it tends to pucker. You don't want that. So that way, you put it on almost like a 50% stochastic, or something like that, or some sort of dot pattern. And then when it puffs together, it puffs out together, and it doesn't.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah. That's an old Wolflix, Joe Clark.
We got more posts real quick. So that GSG is adding a new series for screen printing.
Series of what?
I'm going to spell the first post. And Prakel's representing, and we support from India. Well, great. Well, thank you for joining us from India. It says, yes, stepping on a lot. I was thinking of decreasing the density of the sim process coverage ink. Right now it looks more like a thick layer of HD, but doesn't give that high puff look.
Yeah. So remember, it puffs up and out. And so, dot pattern it away so it puffs up together and you're not getting that high.
Well, can you change the print order so the puff's at the end?
You could, but if you want a higher puff, it's still only, depending on your ink deposit, it's still only going to puff so much because you can only
but we don't want to squish it with the next screen, right? So
no, but you flash it and go next screen on puff too, on top of it.
Yeah.
And you layer it like you would, but yeah.
Okay. Well, cool. Hey, let's get into our topic. You ready?
Yep.
Better whites. Today's show is about one thing, which is printing with white ink and more opacity. And so, Alan, I know this is a topic near and dear to your heart because you've taught this at trade shows.
Yeah, it's
right. So I'll just give you the stage.
So it's probably the seminar I'm probably most known for, and it's called Printing Better Whites. It's probably not your ink. I haven't done it in a few years. After a while, you got to retire them and then I'll bring it back eventually. But and I think it's on Shirt Lab Tribe, isn't it? In the archives, I think I did it.
Yeah, we have one in there. Yep.
So it could always Tribe members can go see it. Here's my thing: when everybody asks, and me, Marshall, you, James, Mark Soldonic at trade shows, customers ask us all the time, I need a better white. And what's the best white out there? And what they're looking for is a unicorn, thing, a magic tub that when you open the cap, champagne comes out and
Angels sing.
oh my gosh, it's right in the world, and it covers, and it's there. And here's the thing, it's not just that. It's not your ink usually. Better whites are, people are looking for one white to do everything. Well, that's not reality. I don't care what the manufacturers say, and they don't say that. It may cover a lot, but it's not everything. And you may want that, but, I want champagne out of my taps. It doesn't happen, and not going to happen. So how do you get the best performing white? I think there's a couple things of, one, what are you looking for? Are you doing fashion wear? Does it need to be soft, no hand on there? Are you printing on polyester or 100% cotton or both or 50-50?
Or fleece.
Or fleece. Are you doing athletic where you need block lettering? It needs to be some semi-gloss and stuff. What are you using? Those are different inks for almost all of them. And there's not one that will cross. Now, some will. They can. Nobody wants 72 SKUs, but yeah, you can do that. So one, what are you doing? And two, all whites work. Just like all emulsions work, all inks work. You're using it the wrong way for the wrong application with the wrong processes, and you're making a fail.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's how I approach better whites. Is it's not the ink, it start with your process, and that will do that. And then you also, Marshall, you ran shops, you had to know, I have an ink that is 50-50, it goes on blends and stuff like that. It's our go-to. But then we had a poly one, but then now you need a poly plus an underbase gray.
We had different, and one of the things that we did was we did a taste test. Yep. So we used the same screens. We just cleaned the screen out, right? And we printed on a red Badger.
Oh gosh.
Okay.
The worst.
And the worst shirt you could print on, right? Yeah. And what we did is I did a series of samples with different ink, and only I knew what A, B, C, D. We did 8 different whites. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then I did a flat white flash white and white flash 123 gold, mm-hmm. because we wanted to see what the underbase was like. Mm-hmm. Did it pop, make the yellow gold pop on the red? Yep. And then we did that on the same shirts. Okay, and we just blocked stuff off, right? And then I cut those out, and then I labeled them, and I put them up in the break room wall, the conference room wall, and we had all the employees come in, and here's the kicker, and the ink reps, mm-hmm. and they had to vote for their favorite what happened, right? And what was really funny is that the ink reps couldn't find their ink.
Yeah.
And that was a really good test. And it turns out that the ink that we were using came in second place. There was a QCM white that won the white over white. And the reason is that had the optimal brightener in it, which has just a slight little blue tint to it.
Yep.
And that makes the white look brilliant. But when you printed that under the yellow, it made the yellow look a little green, right? And yep. And then 123 gold, we did a lot of stuff for McDonald's, and that's their color, and it can't be green, right? It had to be gold. And so that was a really good experiment. And so it's like, should we move whatever? I did the math. That was going to cost us, and it barely won. I'm talking because we polled, I don't know, probably about 60 people, and it barely won within like 2 or 3 votes. And so I did the math. That was going to cost us $7,000 a year to switch. So we didn't think it was worth it. So we stuck with the white we were using. So, but I suggest you guys doing that and just see if, you like stuff, because you can get samples from all these, all these ink manufacturers, and
you know what,
and do it and set it up yourself, and it's a controlled experiment. That really helped us.
And you know what that is? You didn't go around asking people, what white are you using? What white are you using? I'm going to go those, because what works in your shop when you were visual impressions doing that, that was under your parameters in your screens and stuff. Well, that's going to be different for another shop. So you have to do that.
Yeah, it was the same. Here's the control. It was the same screen, right? It was the same squeegee, the same angle, the same pressure, the same everything, right? The only thing that changed was the white, and we would just clean the screen. And print another sample, right? And of course, this is, your press is down while you're doing this. This is not, we've got jobs that we got to print, so we had to schedule this activity, right? And I was always doing stuff like this, by the way. And so it's really, really interesting when you get that, because you prove to yourself what works. And that way it's not what somebody says on Facebook, because we all know how trustworthy that is, right? So,
not at all. It's not trustworthy at all. I'm sorry. Was that jaded? Did that sound jaded?
It does sound jaded, right?
Jaded, bitter old man. So, yeah.
Hey, so we got some comments. So let's get that going. Where are we? All right. So Dan says, I want to puff and the sim process detail on top. Okay. So the puff can't be at the end. Okay.
Right.
James says, be sure with your puff not to overcure in the dryer. It will rise halfway through the dryer and then fall like a cake if you overcook it.
Correct.
So maybe that part of your process could be you're overcuring it.
Yep.
Something to think about. That's good. Good, James. Charles says it's not your white, it's your process.
Where did you learn that from, Charles? Yeah, absolutely.
Mark says, I spent 5 weeks testing 34 different white inks, detailing all their print characteristics through 4 different meshes on cotton, blends, and poly. Fun stuff. That's great.
Yep.
There was no Facebook then. Thanks, Brian.
That was not true, though. That's not true. There was. And, it's just a matter, do you choose to listen to the crap that's on?
I don't know if there even was Facebook. But,
there was.
When did Facebook start?
Long before. Marshall, you and I, because I started following you on Facebook and Twitter.
I don't know. So this is what? 2013 is when I did this.
Yeah, that was Facebook.
Yeah.
So
right. So all right. Anyway, better whites. What does that mean?
So everybody's looking, but you got to know what you want, what you're doing, and then what are your processes, and what does that mean? Because not all whites are the same. Why are there 1,000 whites? Well, there's 1,000 different printers, and the manufacturers have to make them for manual printers and automatic printers, and printers that know what they're doing and printers that don't know what they're doing.
Right.
And the question you got to figure out, which is, hard facts, which one are you?
Yeah, right. And so this is really our next thing, I think, which your preparation determines your outcome.
Absolutely.
Right? So this is a key factor in this. So, this is a better opacity has more to do with your technique than sometimes it does with the ink, although because there's better inks, right? But if you've got your process down, then that ink is really going to perform, right?
Well, absolutely. So I would agree, your process depends more. If you have crappy screen tension and rounded squeegees and poor coating, you're going to have poor opacity. You're going to print flash, and you're going to curse your ink out. But I can almost guarantee you have just as nice a print on the inside of the shirt and on your palette as you do, on the front, and you're using twice as much. How do these guys get prints that have very little hand to them, and it's multiple colors and on fine meshes? Because they're controlling their processes, plain and simple. So your screen tension, if your screen tension is for crap, and you say, well, I don't know what mine is. Well, that's a problem. It's for crap then. So, I just got new screens. Well, good. If you haven't measured them and know what they are when they're coming in.
Yeah, I was just talking with somebody the other day. They said, "Hey, I'm using brand new screens. They're not even a year old." I go, "Okay, well, what's the tension?" Well, I don't know. They're new screens.
Yeah. Who'd you get them from? I mean, there's a place that I won't mention their name here that I won't get screens. They're awful.
Yeah.
So you have to know this stuff, and you think it's just a lot of waste. This is what big shots and experts do and stuff like that. No, this is what people who make money do. This is your profit, because you're going to get more yield and better opacity with less ink in higher mesh counts, and that's called profit.
But Alan, we get paid to print the boards.
Yeah, no, you don't.
Don't we? Don't we get paid to print the boards?
Yep. So, Marshall, I loved when I did Max Profit for you with Mark Coudray. I did 30 minutes on this of profit in printing, and it was all about tension. And you can get 15% faster squeegee speeds, better ink yields with proper tension out of there. And you get 15% better ink yields. You're looking even on a small shop of over $400 or $500 savings a year. On a big shop, it was thousands. Right. And so it's all about the profit on it. And your preparation.
With better tension, you can move your squeegee faster. How many shops you been to, and that squeegee is like, oh my God, it's like, can you move that thing any faster? Right.
Richard Greaves had the best one. He told me I think he was working for Harlequin down in Florida, and Rutland, Genevieve was not with Rutland anymore. This was years ago. Sent him a new ink to test, and he goes, it's not covering. And she goes, well, you need to slow the squeegee down. Well, Richard loved that. Why would I slow my automatics down? Reformulate your ink is what he told her. Inks now, the reason the inks can print well, these are high shear inks. And they're made to print fast. Like I remember when Wilflex came out with Quick White, someone goes, what's the best way to make it work? And I always say, I can tell you how to make it not work. Use too much pressure and run it slow, and it'll work like crap. Get your pressure straight, and your angle's good, and run that puppy pretty fast, and it's going to shear and lay down real nice and cover.
Yeah. I tell you, one of the things I could always tell from my print staff is when they had a hangover was when the squeegees were moving slow and they went about 8 inches past the design. Because they didn't want to work, right? And it's like, well, what are you doing, people?
Yeah, you needed to go past a little bit to get that lift. And
but not like forever, right? So
you have a left chest and it's going the whole way.
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm talking about. It's like, come on. So
yeah, absolutely. So your preparation, if you have good tension, you're 85% there. But if you have poor tension, you say, but I'm coding good, I'm doing everything else well, it doesn't matter. The foundation is screwed up. And that determines white ink coverage and printability right away. And I think, too, on preparation of white ink, white inks are heavy. There's a lot of pigment in them. We want them that way. And so they are heavier. We want it where it's like marshmallow fluff. Well, they're thixotropic. So by sitting there, they can just body up. So they've got to be moved.
Is it cold in the morning? You need
not right now in Michigan, but I remember, our dear friend Greg Kitson, he actually had a seedling heating pad for his poly inks that he kept in a cabinet and kept the inks on there and kept it at a constant 75 to 80 degrees. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And it was a great idea. Richard has actually had crock pots set to low temperature and had gallons of ink in there, keeping at the temperature. It's sous videing ink.
Sous vide the ink? That's
Yeah.
great. So Hurley says, good morning, guys. My comments don't look to be going through Facebook. Sorry, we don't control the platform. I think you have to give StreamYard permission. So maybe it's a permission settings or something. I don't know. But hey, thanks for solving the problem by going to a different platform. We appreciate that.
Yeah, YouTube works. We're glad you're here, Chris.
Daryl says substrate, mesh tension, open area mesh, ink temp, squeegee sharpness. That's great. And by the way, if you want to see some clean, awesome looking prints, Follow Color Tech's Instagram
Yep.
account. Daryl has the best looking prints around, let me tell you. Sean says, happy Friday. Hey, glad
Sean.
you're here. Richard says, using the same screen, print directly on a shirt, then print on a sheet of transfer paper, gel it, and transfer it to a dark shirt.
That's he's doing that for bleeding.
Oh, is he? Okay. I didn't understand the context there.
I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Hey, can you clarify, Richard, what you mean? Because I haven't had enough coffee today. And then Daryl also says, off contact, correct flood, prepping ink before inking screen.
Absolutely.
Yep. Good.
The better the tension, the less off contact you need, and the sharper print you have, the better the tension and the better coating, the less angle you'll need. You know, you never want it more than 15% on there, but if you can get it straight up and down, that's perfect.
Oh, you mean the squeegee shouldn't look like the letter L?
No. If it's bending over, yeah, like that, the letter L, that's a problem. So you're not shearing the ink, you're smashing the ink.
Yeah.
And
right.
shearing is cutting. So
right.
I always said in seminars, shearing is like, shearing is cutting. Now, my grandmother, who my family's from the South, when she would cut my hair when I was younger, honey, go get me, not the scissors, the shears. And shearing is cutting, I remember. Although the curtains were called shears too, and that freaked me out as a kid. So,
did you ever bring her back the curtains?
I should have. That would have got me smacked then too.
That gets you the shoe or the wooden spoon.
Very funny. Grandma had been very funny. Go put the curtains back. Go get a switch now. Yeah.
Right. So I think all too often, we try to treat everything as the same.
Yeah.
And there's a one size fits all approach. And in a lot of ways that's true, but in some instances, you really need to dial in the outcome that you want. And this starts with the artwork, right? It starts with the screen prep. It starts with the print order, the everything about how your equipment is set up. And just really understanding that whole process can allow you to have better results. And of course, if you're using a better ink with the better results, that's when everything really kind of dials in and comes to a fantastic outcome.
And, there's a reason. You got to remember, you can't look just at the cost per gallon of ink, because cost per gallon really doesn't matter. You're paying for a gallon of ink, but it's how many shirts can you get out of that gallon? What's your yield out of it? Why do you think, the two most costly inks are Wolflex and Rutland? What are the two most popular inks for all high-speed automatics and stuff? Well, Wolflex and Rutland. Well, why is that? Because they're designed to print fast. They're designed to print well. And when you do that, you get more shirts per gallon, and your profitability is so much better.
So here's the thing, right? I know everybody watching is perfect.
Mm-hmm. And I want to throw International Coatings in there too, because they have really just incredible products.
So think about it. Of course, this isn't water based, right? But if you're doing plastisol and you have to double stroke your underbase, right? That's taking twice the time and twice the ink for the result that you're trying to achieve. What could you change in your shop to engineer so you only have to print it with one stroke? That's where you guys should be really thinking about. And I know a lot of people here do that, so I'm not talking to you. I'm talking with everybody else. But so just think about what needs to go in, and that's what you solve for, right? So when you're worried about, the cost of your bucket of ink, right? But you're not worried about how many strokes you're putting on the shirt, something is upside down there.
Yeah, if you're going, I use a cheaper ink, but I'm print flashing to get your underbase. Did I say print flash too many times, or again, or more what you need to do? then yeah, you're wasting money. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. So just think about, your preparation determines your outcome, right? So maybe it isn't the work you need to do isn't on your press. It's
Right.
somewhere else.
It's called screen printing. It's probably the screen room. Most important part of your screen printing shop is your screen room, and it's usually the most neglected.
This is Cindy gets the comment for the day, by the way.
Yep. How did you know I was perfect? Because you tell us, Cindy.
Right. So, by the way, I skipped some. All right. Richard says, at Harlequin, I was lucky. We printed a zebra wraparound design every day on a dedicated press. With the same setup, I could compare the best performing inks.
Yep.
Cal's here. Good morning. William's here.
Cal.
Good morning. Hit sent too soon. Compare the direct print to what the transfer proves what your ink can do. Okay.
Cool.
And then James says, great points, Alan and Marshall. Ink cost, when it's just pennies on the garment, the gallon cost isn't the main issue. Yeah, so many times when I talk to shops, they're saying, the cost of ink. I go, the ink cost doesn't matter, right?
Yep.
Your labor cost is what matters. It's like your equipment, when you're thinking about that press, whether it's a manual or an automatic, how much money are you trying to make per hour with that press, right? Is it $300 an hour, $1,000 an hour, whatever it is? So every minute that you're not printing, or when you're not getting the yield that you need, right? You're not making that money. The ink cost it pales in comparison to that.
Absolutely.
Right? I think a lot of times in this industry, we get hung up on the wrong things.
Yep. Agreed.
Cindy says that she is the queen. Yes, she is.
And and it's not just hung up on one thing. I think human nature, we get hung up. Interest rates have went up in housing, and people are going, well, I'm going to hold off on buying before I buy a house and stuff. And I'm going 5%, really? I remember, Marshall, I remember refinancing down to 5%. And you know what? And my thing is, if you're running 18% on a credit card, you're really not concerned about interest then.
No.
So it's
we focus on the wrong things a lot of times.
And that's where, absolutely.
Yeah. So what's the cost of gas? Oh, it's crazy. Well, what do you drive? Well, I drive a monster truck.
That'll do it. Yeah.
I drive a Humvee.
Yeah. I drive a Grand Cherokee.
Let's not go down that route.
No, but it is. But we do focus on what's right in front of us and not the real issues is the point to be made on there, whether it be screen and stuff like that. And we focus too much on price per gallon instead of, how can I really do need to monitor my tension and have a process for that because it saves you money. It saves you time. You print faster. And when you print faster, that job is done, and that increases your production time, and that's all labor rates and stuff. So
instead of focusing on the cost of the bucket of ink, what is the yield?
Yep.
What are we getting per hour out of that press?
Yep.
Right. And one of the things I always measured was impressions per hour. Right. What's our average? What are we doing? Right. And how can we get more? Right. That's the focus. So.
I used to say that in seminar and stuff, your job as a print shop is not how many shirts you print. Your job is how many invoices do you print? Because whether you're paid up front or paid on there, that job's not done. It doesn't matter.
Well, it should be paid in advance.
Well, that's what I said. Even paid up front, you still got to invoice it and packing slip it when it gets out. How many are you doing per day?
Right. So Cal says, if it's a one color white, I usually make 2 screens, print, flash, print, and pull.
Perfect.
Okay. Cindy says she has to run. The king forgot to put fuel in my vehicle, and I have a lunch date. Have a great weekend. Thanks. Thanks for stopping by, Cindy. Richard says if your ink doesn't flow better when you speed the squeegee stroke, you have to use force to transfer it through the mesh. A drop in resistance to flow when you stroke is what defines a screen ink.
Absolutely. So what he's talking about. Go ahead, Marshall. I interrupted you.
I was going to say, this is why you need to use an electric drill and stir your ink before you throw it in the screen.
Well, and even after you do that, as Daryl said earlier, of preparation for the ink, but what Richard is talking about is that ink, when it's sped up, it actually liquefies even more going through the transfer process of through your screen and an emulsion and stencil, and then when it peels up, it sets up on there. So I believe, Richard, correct me, is that fluid transfer? No, that's not fluid transfer. I forget what it's called, but that's where high shear inks come up on there. So they run better fast because they're shearing and they're actually almost liquefying more, but then they're setting right back up as soon as the screen is off on it. So you can print faster and get better detail out of it. Where you have a long bodied ink where you have to slow it down on there and it's gooping through and you're forcing it through, you're pressuring it. That's where shear comes in. So.
All right. So I know we have a lot of experts here, but anybody watching, do you guys have problems with your ink or printing or just, all that opacity issues or whatever? Please drop that in the comments. And if you're watching this later, not live, okay, please leave that comment in here. That's Absolutely. The reason why we pay attention to that. We'll come back later and answer your question. Okay, so please leave that comment. We are here to help you, right?
Yep, absolutely. And these are common problems most people have. And it's not about just on white ink. This actually works for any color plasticell.
Here you go. How fast is fast and how fast is too fast?
You can't go faster. Too fast is when ink is spraying out off the back of the screen.
When you're launching ink like a catapult across the room.
And I've seen that. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But remember, your flash is going to determine how fast, too. Also, the speed.
Yeah, right.
On which machine turns.
Ink hitting the correct color would be a great topic.
Hitting the correct color would be an incredible topic. So
yeah, we'll do that later.
But here's the other thing. On underbase white, depending, you brought up, Marshall, earlier when you were testing of the optical brightener on it. Most optical brighteners are blue. I knew there were a couple inks that use the yellow optical brightener, and some people, end users, don't realize that, if you had just without an optical brightener, that white ink in that pure white polyethylene bucket would look gray on it. And so they put what's called an optical brightener in there, so it looks there, and they come in either blue or yellow. I don't know if there's a different one.
Yeah.
Shade of it. So, that could also affect how your colors look on the underbase. And you have to look at what light you're looking at under, how they look on there. Are you using a 155 for your underbase or a 135? Are you, what are you running on your top colors? Which top colors are they? Fluorescence or, pure fluorescence are normally transparent. So you've got to look at that. So that's a great point, Daryl, right there, even with white.
Another point is, of course, is that your underbase can affect the colors that go on top. If you're using a color that doesn't really have a lot of opacity anyway, like a royal blue, right? Rigflex blue kind of a thing, or PMS 202 is notorious, that burgundy, for turning pink when it's on top of white. So so how do you correct the correct color? Sometimes you don't use white, you use gray or tan or blue, something like that. You can also try not printing a solid white, printing 90% halftone or something like that, and then printing the color on top solid. Sometimes that can help. Also, how much white you're putting down. Are you double stroking the white and then flashing it and then putting a color? That's a lot of white, right? Sometimes that can affect the color. The mesh that the underbase screen is on, it can affect the color, right? There's a lot of things that can affect the final color. So what you want to do is you want to start goofing around with this stuff and teach yourself what you need to do to hit that particular color. And of course, the shirt color plays a role. Like, there's so many variables in this. There isn't
the fibrillation of it, right? The nap of the shirt plays a role.
Yeah.
I find most of the time, Marshall, people are trying to just get a complete, solid, heavy white underbase.
You don't need that.
That's not needed. Yeah.
You don't need that because you're going to print on top, right? So what you want more than anything is just enough ink, to cover up the shirt, and then you're going to print yellow or red or blue or whatever it is on top, right? And you want to set that up, and that's what the underbase white does, right? And then if you needed a bright white, you would print the wet white at the end, right? So
right. I also think too with low cure inks, which I love low cure inks, they're my favorite, is I love Guardian Grays. And Guardian Gray is an international coatings product. It's my favorite underbase grays. Sorry, James. But you know what? It prints well. You can go through a finer mesh, and then you can go on a low cure white on top of it, and you still have very little hand on pure polyesters, which is incredible.
Right. So Cora says, hey, Cora, thanks for coming.
How you doing, Cora?
Best print processes cannot fix poor art separations.
You're right.
I would agree with that. And I bet Dot Tone Dan's going to agree with that as well.
But poor artwork could be made to look worse with poor printing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Based with a metallic blue last week. Very cool outcome. That's awesome.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
All right. Hey, we want to roll some stuff from our sponsor real quick. And
roll that bean footage.
Let's get rid of that.
Well,
there is a ink that they want to highlight today, which is the Woolflex Amazing Bright Tiger White. And that's currently at gogsg.com for $91.20 a gallon. And they also have a contest for your chance to win $3,000. Nice. So you can. This is in the latest Go GSG Pulse. So if you just go to their webpage, and where's my deal here? GoGSG.com. You can see that. You can see the pulse. And what I really want to show is Mark has a fantastic video on printing with Bright Tiger, and it's a great video. This just came out the other day, so we wanted to show this.
Marshall, it's not Bright Tiger, so Woolflex actually discontinued Bright Tiger and Amazing Bright White. We formulated them both into one white of this new white. So here it is.
Yeah.
I'm Mark Subone, a textile application specialist with GSG. Today in the applications lab, I'm going to introduce you to Woolflex's newest white ink. It's called Woolflex Amazing Bright Tiger White. It's a low bleed white. It's a high performance white. It's great for automatic printing. It's fast flashing. It has a really low gloss matte white finish to it. We're going to be doing a 4-color job with a white underbase and 3 top colors, and we're going to print this design all wet on wet. For our print application, using the Woolflex Amazing Bright Tiger White, our first screen, we're going to use a 156 mesh. We're going to use a 60-90-60 durometer squeegee at about a 15-degree angle, running at about 40 PSI. We're going to do one single print stroke. We're going to flash and move to our top colors. For our top colors, we're going to use a 200 mesh screen. We're going to use a 70 durometer squeegee, again at about a 15-degree angle, running about 45 PSI. And it's going to be the same for all 3 colors. And we're going to print these all wet on wet, right in sequence. So there you have it, our finished shirt using Woolflex Amazing Bright Tiger White. Really nice coverage, very fast flashing, and a really nice soft hand feel to it. Remember to like, comment, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And for more tips and information on screen printing, visit gogsg.com, and we'll see you next time.
So, great video, Mark.
Yeah, nice
and that
job.
Just really puts the exclamation point on what we're talking about today. And as you can see, they only hit 1 stroke. By the way, Mark, you're using static frames. Do you remember what your tension was on your frames? Would love to get that information out.
I
So anyway, so
I love that he always says what the pressures were on the M&R press, what the and so just remember, if you're using a saber or a rock or something like that, your pressure are going to be different. So check on that. But man, he's giving you everything.
Yeah, and Mark does a fantastic job with videos showing you how to use products with a lot of different special effects. Highly recommend that you subscribe to the GSG YouTube channel, and you can see a bunch of amazing things there.
On everything, on embroidery, on sign, on all of it. So yeah, it's a great channel.
Yeah, but the reason we wanted to show that was really just to put an exclamation point on what we're talking about, where you notice that he didn't hit the white twice.
Yep.
Right? He printed wet on wet. And there's a lot of people out there that can't do that, right? They struggle all the time with this stuff. And so it's really about dialing in the parameters and doing it the right way. And there is a method to this madness, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So, all right. 156 had 30 newtons, 200 was at 26.
Cool.
There you go. Perfect. And yeah, great tension, especially with a static frame. Usually those are in the mid-20s, so that's fantastic. So anyway, what was our third
and
thing?
You know, white inks, I love when he does this and shows us, because white inks are sometimes the hardest things. They would rather do a 4-color on anything than a 1-color white on a dark shirt, and it shouldn't be that. You know, I know when Mark had his shop, I've been in there when he was a production manager and had his shop. And some of the other guys on here, they don't worry about when they get a 1-color white on a black shirt. And you know why? Because they print it like they do everything else with proper processes, and let's go.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Right. So, Alan, we kind of already alluded at this, but what's the unicorn white? I'm looking for the best white out on the market.
Unicorn white is the new name for the new Plastisol by Q&A with Alan and Marshall. We have decided to. Marshall's mixing in his bath. Jack's going to college. Is now mixing ink in his room. No. Unicorn white is when you are looking for, I want one white to do everything. And you're looking for that unicorn. You'll never find it. You know, it might work on 50/50s and may even have some stretch. You can do it on a tri-blend. But you get to a digital camo, oh my Lord, you're going to have some issues. You better be using low cure. You might want to look at silicone. You're going to have to use an underbase gray and probably a top white on top of it for a digital camo. Digital camos are some of the worst things to do. So there is no one white for everything. And Marshall too, I just don't think it's profitable, because you might have Amazing Bright White as your underbase on there, and you might have an underbase white, say Amazing Bright White, and you could use that as your top highlight white. And a highlight white, or a high white they're called, are what gives highlights. It gives tone. It gives effect on there. And that's usually the last or second from last screen ever done. So it's not flashed. You can go to a very high mesh count, and you could actually use a cotton white, which is $10 a gallon cheaper, run through a high mesh count, and there we go. Why would you use your expensive white? I mean, you don't need all that stuff on it. And so there's just ways there, and it's all about profit and running faster. You go through it, it prints. We all know cotton whites, because it doesn't need all the bleed blockers. It actually will, print faster. And so it's very nice in a highlight white.
Mm-hmm.
So there's all these little things. I always said there needs to be a minimum of 3 whites. You have your go-to for your underbases and everything. You have a cotton white and you have a poly white, but you really there's a few more you should probably have in there. Yeah. I would go everything low cure. I would not be doing a full standard cure on anything anymore. 300 degrees and below. So,
all right. I'm having some button issues today. I can't click. What's going on? There you go. So John says, I love printing whites. I have new staff that always yells about it being the worst, but I show them how to give it some love and prep, and it's butter.
Like butter. So,
Right.
John, I can't wait. I need to come out to Richmond, Indiana and see your new shop. I'm excited for you guys. So nice job. And John does a lot of nice stuff, a lot of black shirts he prints for his market.
Ghost is here. Hey, what's going on, buddy? Good to see you. Alan says, I have the best white and we know it. Right. Charles says digital camo is easy. Just say no.
Yeah, except there's lots of money being made in it.
Yeah. Well, actually, digital camo is anything that's sublimated. It doesn't have to be camo, right? It could be,
and
it can be an island print with flowers, right?
Yep.
And so.
Okay, now let's talk about that. So, do you know there are camos and digital camos that aren't sublimated?
Yes.
So Rothko has regular camos and stuff that aren't sublimated, that are water-based rolls.
Augusta does also.
Augusta does too on digital camos. And I'm like, go for it. Do it.
Yep. Hurley says, I had an HD white mix that took on snow camo and never migrated. It was a mad scientist mix.
Was that silicone, Christopher? Because silicone also has where it'll migrate, but as it cures silicone, it'll migrate through the silicone and gas out through the silicone.
Right. So good stuff. Good stuff. Right. So our last
comments. Yeah.
Our last thing right here is problem solving. So I've certainly struggled over the years with stuff and things aren't working right and it's just not lining up and you feel so snake bit because you know the UPS truck's going to be here in an hour and you got to get the order out, right? So what are some ways, Alan, that we can like just stop, take a breath, and start working on resolving whatever the issue is in front of us? What's the technique to put the detective hat on and try working and solving the problem instead of just ranting and raving like a lunatic?
That's the first thing is one, step back, breathe. Yes, I know there's deadlines and stuff, but when you start getting anxious and stuff, you can't do the detective work. And think about the basic fundamentals. If it's jumping out of registration, what is the tension? Is your screen moving on there? It might not be your press. If you're getting a haloed or blurred effect up top, that is your mesh roll, your mesh moving. And we've done this before where you can see your skin moving like that and then make a fist that's there. It's not. That mesh will roll and give you that halo look. You got to know what the problem is. You know, are you looking? Why am I having to hit it multiple times? Is your squeegee bent over? Are you running way too much pressure on it and your squeegee's bent over? What angle are you at? Well, I'm at 30 degrees. Go to 15. When's the last time you've changed your squeegees or had them sharpened? Then you have to do that. Remember, it's shearing. It's not pushing the ink through. And so you have to see what the problem is. And I always say go back to the basic fundamentals of what they are, because that's 99% of the time what it is.
So I went to a shop once, Alan, okay, and the squeegee looked like this.
Yeah.
It was the original squeegee that they got with the press 10 years ago.
So I went into a shop in Canton, Ohio. I've known these people for years, and they had M&R gauntlets. And I said, man, they were having trouble with whites. I go, when's the last time you changed the squeegees? And I go, they said, I don't know that we ever had. Same thing. And you know what? Most people don't. And so I had them get new squeegees and put them in there. And they go, wow, how come we didn't know this? I said, well, you had a bad sales guy who wasn't doing that. You know who the sales guy was? Me. And I always, that right there, I'm thinking, you idiot. You know, this is a few years ago, but it's the little things. And we forget, you know, when you're working for a distributor or manufacturer, we always think of the big three. It's ink, it's emulsion, it's chemical. And you know what we forget? What makes ink work better? It's squeegees. Yeah. And squeegees need to be, if you're not sharpening, you need to change your squeegees minimum twice a year. Minimum. And if you can't remember that, just remember every time there's a time change, you change your squeegees out too.
Oh, that's a good tip. I like that.
Absolutely. You change the
That
batteries.
that could be an internet meme.
I've done it before. You change the smoke alarm batteries, you set your clocks back, and you
Change your
change your squeegees out. And a roll of squeegee material is not expensive. You can get 6 colors out of a 144, or 9 squeegees out of one roll of 12-foot roll of squeegee of 16-inch squeegee. So yeah.
And I'm a big fan of triples.
I love triple diameters. So yeah, I like a 75, 90, 75 there. They're amazing. I'm a big fan of triples.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, so when you're looking at a problem on press, okay, one of the things that I would also suggest is if you're trying to figure it out, only change one thing at a time.
Yep.
Because if you change 2 things or 3 things, which one of them was it that worked? You don't know, right? So use your best guess hypothesis, and then try that. And if it doesn't work, then it wasn't that, and you can try something else, right? And and so anyway, but a lot of times the challenge that we have usually is with the screen. And so if you've got a good process in your screen room, a lot of times these problems are mitigated before you even show up on press.
Yep.
So I would put a lot of effort into the screen room. I know you guys probably don't have that, but I've been to tons of shops where the worst employee in the building is the one that's in the screen room because it's the punishment job.
Yep. And it should be.
That never made sense to me.
Yep, it should be the best person out there. And I love the movie Apollo 13 for problem solving. When I talk about this in seminar a lot, is if you remember when the astronauts, there's a problem, it's there, and everybody's in this meeting and they're going, well, it's this, it's electrical, it's all that. And the head guy goes, people, hush. Let's not make it worse by guessing. Work the problem. And what happens when you get anxiety is we start flipping knobs and doing stuff, and you're making it work by guessing, and you forget where you started. Write it down, document, and keep going. Work the problem. Don't make it work worse by guessing.
Right. All right, we got some great comments that we haven't. Where are we? So Hurley was saying that white prints on black shirts is what I started on, was 99% of my work the first year. Right? Good. Mr. Good's here this morning.
Hey,
good morning, Frank. Good to see you. Okay. Thank you so much for everything with Shirt Lab Chicago. Appreciate you and S&S.
And Frank, now with me and Daryl, we all got our Ron Goodwin coin. Making it a great day always and doing good.
Right.
So.
That's right. So Hurley said, no, 50-50 HD clear and HD base with white. There you go. Plastisol mix. Took 3 days to register and test blends on my last job to get it perfect. Different inks were taking my registration out while stacking. And he was showing this, by the way, online. And what was really cool was he's got HD that has a sharp edge, and he's also got a round edge on the same print, which is pretty impressive. I mean, it was really a good looking print. So, So Charles wants to know if Femore rubber is the industry go-to.
Femore is a great Cerilor Femore is a great squeegee. Can't go wrong with it. Call Bridget at Femore. GSG is a Femore dealer. They have great products. I like their products. There's always a code on the edge of the roll that says which batch number it is and everything. It's a pretty incredible product. I'm a big Femore squeegee fan.
Ray's here. No, everybody from everybody on the show's from Michigan. What's up with that?
It's the place to be. Ray, congratulations, Mr. Ray Markey, starting his own shop. And
is he? That's great.
He is. It was just announced yesterday on Facebook. So
I missed that.
Ray, when are we getting together for lunch? Monday? Because right in Flint, right by me. So Ray lives in Clio, so I'm excited.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I bet you can sell him some stuff.
Well, Ray is a master at artwork. He's run an amazing shop, and I'm I'm excited for him to branch out on his own. A couple other people I know in the industry in this Michigan market know him, and they know it's going to be a little competition, but they're excited for him too.
Yeah,
He-
good. Well,
he's a good guy.
competition makes everybody better.
You know,
so.
he has a great reputation. So I'm excited for you, Ray.
So if the edge of the squeegee isn't sharp like a skate blade, I swap it out. You can tell he's from
Absolutely.
Canada.
Yeah, the skate blade.
I don't know what the edge of a skate blade is because I don't skate.
In Arizona, there's not a lot of ice skating.
No, we have knowledge of all workstations. So when we encounter problems, we change people at stations for 15 to 30 minutes to see if it was solved. Oh, what a great idea.
But that means you have to cross-train everybody so everybody knows how to do everything, which is amazing.
It is amazing.
Costa for the win.
Ray says you can buy him lunch whenever you want.
I'm free. I have a meeting with Marshall after this, and then I'm free. Let's go.
Yeah. Cool.
I'd be happy to buy. Easy Way would love to buy you lunch. So, yeah.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for our show today. We really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching. And we got a lot of really fun stuff coming up. We would also like to say, if you're watching this as a recording or listening to the audio version on our podcast, please leave us a comment. We want to know that you're there and what your problems are, if you've got questions, all that stuff. So anyway, that's it. Any last minute thoughts, Alan?
Yeah, we want to thank, of course, GSG. They do such a great job for the industry of everything. I love being partnered with them. Can't wait for the new video next week. And also, I'm going to give them a little shout out. Their newest branch is in Cincinnati, Ohio, who I work with, and they are now moving to a bigger facility. They have outgrown it. And congratulations, guys. Good job.
That's fantastic. That's
Yep.
fantastic. All right. Well, hey, we'll have a great weekend, and we will see you next week. Take care.
Absolutely. Take it easy, everyone.